our SVP of Brand Planning and Communications, next to Mr. Stan Lee. CB Sabelski, our SVP of Creator and Content Development. Wolverine Group Editor, Janine Schaefer. I just said that is Wolverine Group. Then Awesome Books Group Editor, Sana Amanat. She has Ultimate and all the great adaptations we do of other fiction. Yes, and then me, I'm a Director of Communications. So, CB, this is. Why don't you introduce us and get us started on all this?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You don't have a spiel that sounds really good. It makes it sound like we're really cool, nice people.
No, this is a panel about love of Marvel. It's about the shared love. You're all here for a reason, and we all work in comics for a reason, and that reason is because we're Marvel zombies. This panel was really just created as a way, as an open forum to, share stories about, our love of comics, our love of the characters, and it's an open forum for you to discuss anything you like about what we do, and, just get into any kind of open discussion about all things Marvel. So that's kind of what the Marvel Universe concept is all about. And, sometimes the way we've started this is for the people up here on the dais to just talk about where your love of comics came from. What was your first Marvel book, and what is it that keeps you in? So, you want to?
Okay.
Why don't we just tell a couple quick stories on our side, and then we can get into it.
Sure. My first Marvel comic I think I purchased was Transformers number 41. The Autobots, of course, fought the Decepticons, and so it was the first. I wasn't allowed to, my parents never let me buy violent comics or see violent television. I wasn't allowed to watch anything where people hurt people. So I could watch He-Man because he fought demons, but I couldn't watch G.I. Joe because they shot each other. They missed, but they shot each other. So I never saw Die Hard till like 2 years ago. This wasn't stuff I was raised with. So I actually grew up in a lot of my family's old DC comics that I got from cousins that were safer. It wasn't Frank Miller Daredevil. The first Marvel comic that really probably excited me was a collection of the Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and some of the Joe Simon Captain America. It was just one of those little digests they used to make, and I read it how many times over. The spine is weak. And then I was in third grade at an art class, and someone introduced me to Uncanny X-Men. I can't draw, but I could read, so I read Uncanny X-Men and dropped out of the art class.
I got into comics because I have 3 older brothers, and I was the youngest. I was a baby. I was trying to hang out with them. They didn't want to hang out with me. So it was more into, my eldest brother is really into sci-fi fantasy. Obviously, Star Wars is a big part of it. And I was watching it when I was like 5 years old. I mean, I don't even know how old I was. Didn't understand what was happening, but there was just this epic quality to it that it resonated with me when I was that young. And ever since then, it's, this entire world has always been something that I wanted to be a part of. I started with Archie comics. That was sort of my thing. That's how I got into comics. Calvin and Hobbes, lots of strip comics. And I was a political science major. I don't even know how I ended up here, but it was just sort of the love and passion for this world, and yeah.
My first Marvel comic was Uncanny X-Men 274. It was Rogue and Magneto in Savage Land, and I didn't know what on earth was happening. It was the best thing I had ever seen. Rogue was wearing that tiny Savage Land bikini on the front.
Giggity giggity.
And I don't know, it just was so exciting, and I got so into the characters, and I just wanted to read more and more. I bought comics at Toys R Us at the time, which we're in Canada. I don't know. Okay, awesome. And they have they have a section of just random bagged comics, and I just grabbed the first one that I saw, and that was it. No looking back.
My first comic I ever bought was actually a DC comic. It was New Gods #7, and it was literally like the most violent comic book you could possibly give to a child. Of course, I zeroed right in on that one. But my first Marvel comic, the one that, I can't remember the exact one, but I remember the first Marvel comic that made a real strong impression on me was the Conan issue. It was probably like in the 30s somewhere. And I remember Conan, I'd never seen him before. He was just a big tough guy with long hair. And basically he ended up, he was in this weird place and he ended up making out with this really hot chick. And basically he went for a swim and he went swimming really deep. And I loved swimming, so I thought that was really cool, how long he could hold his breath. And they swam and swam, and then she turned into an octopus thing and tried to kill him. And he ended up chopping off her head and then barely breaking the surface of the water, only to find himself in this coliseum where there were now 7 dudes in different colored armor with swords ready to kill him to the light of many. And I absolutely knew at that point I had to get the next issue. So again, it may not have been my first Marvel comic book, but it was that first one that made me feel like I'm coming back. I have to be at the store when this comic book arrives.
Yeah, I grew up reading all kinds of comics, and I would spend my summers in Europe. My family's Swedish, so we'd go to Sweden, and there were all reprints of, lots of different French comics, Mobius and Blueberry and stuff like that. And my cousins would always let me, pick through their collections. But when I came back to the States, I remember the first comic I got my hands on my own in English. My first Marvel comic was X-Men 120. So that was right with Guardian, and the next issue 121 was Alpha Flight. So I've been reading ever since, and I still think that the Byrne Claremont X-Men is some of the best comics ever created.
Just as we were sitting here, I kind of had one of those repressed memories pop up back in my head. Not that this is like a traumatic experience, but I always thought that my first comic book was a Marvel team-up issue, but now that I think about it, I don't know how many people remember this. This is probably dating myself a little bit, but DC used to do these things where you could buy comic books and it would come with a record. And you could put the record in and then listen to the record. Yeah, it's really old school. I just remembered having one of those as a kid. I think that was probably my first comic book. You could put the record in and kind of read along to what was going on. The record would play out the comic book. It was really cool.
Nice. Hey, can we get the lights back up, Alex? Do you mind? I want to ask the audience a question. So a lot of people, with the expanding Marvel brand, be it video games, movies, the X-Men animated series in the 90s was a big gateway for a lot of people. There's a million different ways that people are getting exposed to Marvel characters, and I just want to do a quick straw poll of the audience. How many people's first experience with Marvel was through a comic book? Okay, great. How many was through a movie, be it Spider-Man or Blade or something like that? Okay. How about an animated series? Okay. X-Men?
Yes.
Rogue, yes? Okay. And how about a video game or merchandising or something like that? Anyone's first exposure? Okay, a couple folks. So yeah, see, it's just, the Marvel brand is everywhere. So everyone, how do you want to proceed from here?
I say, let's just see, do you guys have questions, anything on your mind you just want to talk about? Price of comics, content of comics, your favorite characters?
Sure.
I don't think that Marvel actually produces video games. I've been trying for years to find a Marvel video game, and I haven't been able to.
No, we have lots of video games actually.
On the computer.
Ultimate Alliance, X-Men Legends, for every time there's a movie.
New, right?
What's that? Yeah.
2 years, right?
No, they were. Yeah. I'm not a big video game guy. Who knows?
Marvel vs. Capcom.
Yeah, there used to be that X-Men arcade game back on the Genesis.
Those they didn't market Spider-Man or Superman that way until maybe recently because they didn't want to degrade, I guess, the characters.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't market it that way because I was trying to find it maybe 5 years ago.
I think we've been having games for a while.
It's been sporadically over the years, but I think in the last few years you've definitely seen more. But there've been a lot of them in the last 9 or 10 years.
Yeah.
There've been a lot, yeah.
I don't know where they came out because I went on the computer trying to find it for years.
If you check out Amazon, you probably can find a bunch of them there. And depending on how new or old they are, you'll probably get a good price on them too.
They've been around for at least the last 10 years because I didn't start playing video games until my son was about 4. But when I first came to Marvel a decade ago, they were doing the first generation of the Spider-Man games. Hulk came right after that, so they're out there.
Sir. Yeah.
I just had a quick question. It's going a while back. One would be.
Oh, I think we have two.
Oh, sorry.
This guy first, and the other guy who I guess I pointed that to right after, I promise.